Hi, my name's Maclaine. I'm one of the founders of Tutorfair. I've been a tutor for about 20 years or so now, and when I started it was a very, very different industry, very small number of agencies and servicing a very small number of clients, and now the whole thing has ballooned into an enormous industry. A large proportion of students will have some form of support whilst they're through their academic life. One of the main reasons for setting up Tutorfair was that only a privileged few number of people were able to actually afford tutoring, and it is incredibly helpful. Having just even a tiny amount of one-on-one support can have a dramatic effect on a student's confidence and their ability to tackle problems and their resilience. And so I think there were quite a few of us who felt that it shouldn't just be reserved for those who could afford it. So we set up Tutorfair as a way to fund the work through our charitable foundation, and that's incredibly exciting. The number of children we've been able to help so far is fantastic, and it's something that drives a lot of the people involved in this project and a lot of the tutors who've been involved with Tutorfair for a long time. I mean, essentially my experience of tutoring has obviously been over quite a long time. I've worked with the children of royal families, movie stars, billionaires, but I've also worked with a lot of kids in council estates and on free school meals. In fact, that's where I came from, so I think it's really nice to be able to give something back. Also, I learn something different from every one of my students. In fact, that's probably one of the things that I love the most about tutoring is how much I learn from the kids I work with, not just about the academics but also about myself and hopefully becoming a better human being. I guess, as I said, that's probably one of the main things that I love about tutoring. I think in order to get the most out of it, however, there are certain things that certain ways of approaching lessons and approaching your work that can help you get the most out of it. Not only help the students do much better and you have a better sort of success in terms of financial gains, but it is also about being able to make sure that it's enjoyable for you too. Now, one of the things I think is really vital for starting out tutors is to understand that you don't need to be super slick in your lessons. In fact, sometimes having every answer immediately can be sometimes really beneficial for students, because essentially what you're doing is modeling for them what happens if I don't know the answer. How do I then go about finding it? So, for example, if a student asks me a question and if I gave them the answer straight away, well, they start to see me as being placed, well, okay, I can, Mark just knows it or he doesn't know it. But I think if you can present them a way of finding the answer, so essentially they come to you with a question and just say, how do we find out? Ask them slightly more leading questions in to lead them to be able to actually find the answers for themselves. And I think that's very much about empowering them. Again, I see tutoring as sort of an overlap between being a teacher, obviously, a coach and a mentor. The teacher, obviously, to help give them information and make sure they understand things. But in your coaching, what you're doing is preparing students for specific problems that they're going to face. I mean, exams could be one of those, but it could be everything down to dealing with homeworks or how to deal with troubles in school, or sometimes again you're dealing with social things as well, friendships, that kind of stuff. And the other side also, the mentoring, is you're coming from a place of someone who's been through that, and you provide a positive role model for them to hopefully to follow. Yeah, I think understanding that tutoring is a sort of an overlap of all three of those is probably a very good place to start, because what you're doing is you're placing yourself in a position, like a guide, and then the student can then hopefully trust in you, and then trust is something that isn't just donated. It's something that you earn. Now, okay, we hear that you earn trust, but in fact, trust is very simple. It's an equation in that student's mind of, can I accurately predict the way that my tutor is going to act? Are they going to turn up on time? Are they going to be reliable? If I ask them a question that might seem silly, are they going to make fun of me, or are they going to be kind about it? And I think that brings me on to something else that's very, very important. Kindness and empathy is probably one of your greatest tools as a tutor. it's a very vulnerable position to be in as a student, to put yourself in a position to say, look, I don't know this, and there's a huge amount of trust that's placed in educators, and I think when teachers break that trust, it can be incredibly detrimental for the students, and I think it, sadly, given the way that the education system is, which is, it works in many ways, but sometimes when you've got many students to one teacher, it can be problematic, and it means that maybe there isn't that level of individual care that can be provided. Now, obviously, that in a one-on-one situation is a lot easier. So I think making sure that you are kind to your students if they don't know something or they forget something, because we're humans after all, but also being hugely empathetic to the fact that sometimes this can be really scary. I wasn't particularly good at maths at school, and I think that going on and becoming a maths teacher, I think it's not something I ever would have thought, yeah, I'll go and become a maths teacher. In fact, actually, I could have thought almost anything would be better than that. But you know what? I think that because I struggle with it, and I'm open with my students about saying that I did find this difficult. In fact, what I found difficult was this and this and this. Can actually help open. I guess open the sort of the trust between the two of you, because they feel okay to say, I do find this hard, and I think knowing that their tutor also struggled with it, but came through the other end, it gives them a really good sort of sense of the long-term goal that they've got here, that they don't need to understand everything individually right away, but eventually they can do. Yeah, and I guess the empathy being a massively important one, and then I think probably the last one that I have time for now would probably be growth mindset. It's the idea that really reinforcing in students that we do become smarter the harder we work. We know more things if we're willing to work hard, and it's that hard work that helps us attain it. Now, people work at different rates and they pick up things at different speeds, but the truth is, if you're willing to work at something, you really can do well. And I think that is it's a mindset that you have as a tutor, and understanding that students can do much better, but also it's in the way that you communicate with them. So if they say, well, I can't do this, it's saying, well, yet you can't do it right now, but I think with work you can do. And even if and I think that sometimes you will get students who might be like, oh, I can't do this, but I think that with continual sort of drip of yet. You can't do it yet, but you will be able to, and constantly reinforce to students when they've made a mistake with something, that actually this is part of the progress of being able to move forward. One of my little students said to me that fail is first attempt in learning, and I think that's quite a nice one. He really responded to that quite well. So yeah, I guess I hope that this has been helpful in some ways, and good luck in your tutoring journey going forward.